Torah Life Ministries come out of the world. Messiah people seek the truth.
Did you all hear that? It says again, Romans 14, 12 and 13. Each of us will give a personal account to Yahweh. So let us stop condemning each other. Decide instead to live in such a way that you will not cause another believer to stumble and fall. So we look at these and we got to think about that. The next time you go to put on some perfume. Well, I want to smell good. Why? You know the whole spirit behind the perfume industry is a lustful sexual spirit that's right behind it. First of all, if you're not eating all this processed junk food, you're not going to smell like a garbage dump. When you're eating healthy, you're going to smell fine. But if you want a perfume, at least wear something healthy like the essential oils. Or something like that you can smell good. And I anoint my beard with oil every single day. I'm not going to put perfume that's going to burn a hole through my nostril and make me get a headache. You know, make me sick. And make other people lust after me like they're men walking to the slaughter, like it says in Proverbs. That's what people do. We have to understand this. Jeremiah 4:30 says, "And you who are doomed to be plundered, what do you mean by putting on beautiful clothing, decking yourselves with jewels and gold, enlarging your eyes with makeup? You beautify yourself in vain. Your lovers despise you, and they seek your life." There's scripture after scripture that warns us. We are built a certain way, and Yahweh has us a certain way. There are some people around the world that can't grow beards. Well, they shouldn't have it. But if we should grow, if we're growing it, well, first of all, everyone grows a beard pretty much. Some people just decide to shave it. But we're all growing beards, all men are. So we look at this and we see this issue, and we see this problem. Should I stop or keep going?
Keep going.
We understand this and we say, the next question might come up. People ask me, well, what about head coverings? Well, what about head coverings is a common? This is probably one of the most controversial subjects, you know, amongst congregations and assemblies all over. And I could tell you that it's very split because I know people that have the knowledge of the scriptures that believe men and women should be wearing head coverings. And then I know men and women that say they shouldn't be. And there's a split issue. However, I do tell you one thing. The hair on the head is a woman's beauty. And I believe personally that a woman's beauty should be for a husband and not for the world. And one of the most beautiful things I ever seen was when a woman told me she got offended when another man other than her husband told her how beautiful her hair was. And that convicted her to stop covering her head. Now on that account, what would be the point of wearing a head covering but having your hair show? So we have to understand these things and understand what true beauty is according to Yahweh. And we have to look at the issue of head coverings. I don't say from a spiritual standpoint, there's a lot of ways you can go either way, if whatever you're convicted of. But from the whole standpoint of modesty, I can tell you as a believer, and most men I've met who are believers, they prefer to see their women in a head covering. So just keep that in mind. Now, we look at, you know, it might seem like I'm judging everyone here and everything else, but like I said, I'm one of the most judging people you'll ever meet because the scriptures tell us to judge. But it tells us to judge, not to knock somebody down, to lift them up. How could we discern without judging? If I'm doing something wrong, I want you to judge me. And I'm judging you to try to help you out here. To try to say, you know, from a physical, emotional, spiritual standpoint, how we've gotten away from the way Yahweh wants us to live, dress, and act. We look at Jeremiah 13:27. I have seen your adultery and lust, and your disgusting idol worship in the fields and on the hills. What sorrow awaits Jerusalem? How long before you are pure? Isaiah 3:8-9. For Jerusalem will stumble, and Judah will fall, because they speak out against Yahweh and refuse to obey him. They provoke him to his face. The very look on their face gives them away. They despise their sin like the people of Sodom, and they don't even try to hide it. They are doomed. They have brought destruction upon themselves. How? By the look on their face. By the physical look on their face. Isaiah 3:16-17 says, because Zion's women are so proud, walking with their heads in the air and throwing seductive glances, moving with mincing steps and jingling their ankles, Yahweh will strike the crown of their heads and Zion's women with stones, and Yahweh will expose their private parts. You know, there's a saying in the scriptures. There's a saying in general. Ask for it and you'll get it. Ask for it and you'll get it. Isaiah 3:18 says, on that day Yahweh will strip away everything that makes a woman truly beautiful. Truly beautiful. I have this warning here for men and women. A warning to men. Matthew 5:28 says, anyone who even looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his eyes. Proverbs 7:10. I saw some native young man, and one in particular who lacked common sense. He was crossing the street near the house of an immoral woman, strolling down the path of our house. It was at twilight, in the evening, as deep darkness fell. The woman approached him seductively, dressed in sly of the heart. And Proverbs 7:21-22. So she seduced him with her pretty speech and enticed him with her flattery. He followed her at once, like an ox going to the slaughter. Proverbs 6:23-26. For their command is a light, and their instructions is a light. Their corrective discipline is the way of life. It will keep you from immoral woman, from the smooth tongue of a promiscuous woman. Don't lust for her beauty. Don't let her coy glances seduce you, for a prostitute will bring you to poverty. And 1 Peter 5:8, stay sober and stay alert. Your enemy, the adversary, stalks about like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. This is my warning to men. Regardless of how strong we are, we have to understand. Job 31:11 says, for lust is shameful, sin, a crime that should be punished. It is a fire that burns all the way to hell, and it will wipe out everything we own. We have to keep our eyes on the things of Yahweh and away from the detestable things of this world. We have to understand how history shows us how men have been deceived and taken away. We look at Judah himself going to do business in Jerusalem, but saw a prostitute there, his daughter-in-law, hidden in clothes, and because of her beauty was enticed. So that wasn't in his plan. He was going in to do business, but all of a sudden he saw that and he changed his mind. We have to look at King David and Bathsheba. You know, some people might say, well, that's his fault. He shouldn't have been spying on her. Well, she shouldn't have been getting undressed on the roof or in front of a window or wherever she was. And we look at Samson. 3 times in Scripture, how he was led away by the spirit of a woman, by the beauty of a woman. In Judges 13:25, and the spirit of Yahweh began to stir inside him. But still, he says, I want to marry that unbeliever because of her beauty. She's pretty to me. And his lust for women led him all the way to Delilah, who was his downfall. And what's so interesting is, when Yahweh punished him, was the first thing Yahweh took away from him? His eyesight. Exactly. You know, I met a blind man once and he said, Paul, I can't be deceived by these beautiful women. I said, you better stay away from women with perfume. but he did have something, something high to consider. You know, we look at how a woman should dress. Somebody asked me that earlier, or it might have been yesterday, but we look at 1 Timothy 2:9 and 10. 1 Timothy 2:9 and 10 says, and I want women to be modest in their appearance. We should be modest in our appearance and not make themselves attractive to create lustful things. 1 Peter 3 and 3:4 says, your beauty should not consist of externals and fancy hairstyles, gold, or what to wear. Rather, let it be in the character of your heart, with the imperishable quality of a gentle and quiet spirit. In Yahweh's sight, this is of great value. In Micah 6:8, Yahweh has already told you what is good and what he demands of you. To do what is right, love grace, and here it is, ladies, walk in purity with Elohim. Walk in purity with him. Can you honestly look yourself in the mirror? And some of you do way too often, but can you look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm walking in purity with Yahweh? We are called, as believers, men and women, to hide the shapes of our bodies. 1 Timothy 2:14 and 15 says, the woman who, on being deceived, became involved in the transgression, nevertheless the woman will be delivered through childbearing, provided that she continues to trust, loving and living a holy life with modesty. With what? Modesty. With modesty. Ask yourself, who are you dressing for? Corinthians 10:30 says, whatever you do, whether it is eating, drinking, or anything else, do it so as it brings glory to Yahweh. We have to see the Bible teaching what women to do. In Titus 2:5 it says to be self-controlled and pure. Titus 2:12 says it teaches us to renounce godliness and the worldless pleasures and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives now in this age.
Come out of the world, oh my people, seek the truth.